Today, I'm going to show you an overview of Islam and why it's clearly false. The religion called Islam was founded in the year 610 by a 40-year-old man, Muhammad. He lived an imperfect life by slaughtering a bunch of people, raping, pillaging, stealing, and having sex with multiple women, and even having a 9-year-old wife. And just to be clear, he died and stayed dead. The 9-year-old wife was called Aisha, and what happens is they have the Quran, the actual book, and then they have people that lived with Muhammad and all the stuff that also wrote stuff like talking about their personal like relationship with him and all this stuff and what he did. So it kind of gives you a different look on the Quran. So narrated Aisha that the Prophet married her, and there was more stuff before it, but I'm not taking it out on purpose, because from this you could get what it's saying. It says that the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. Hisham said, I've been informed that Aisha remained with the Prophet for 9 years, i.e. till his death. Reference Sahih al-Bukhari 5134. So here are the Islamic beliefs. They don't believe in the Trinity, and they believe Allah is impersonal, so he can't be known. Can't have a personal relationship with him. So Allah is not the same God as in Christianity. So I don't like when people say, oh, Islam and Christianity and Judaism are all basically the same. They're so similar. They believe in God and Jesus and stuff too. Not the same type. So they're deceived because they don't believe Jesus is God. They believe he's just a prophet and that he didn't die on the cross. But historically, we know there was an actual Jesus who died on a cross. Even atheists admit that, even if they don't believe he resurrected. So this is just false. That's a different gospel. And it's not the same Jesus. And Allah is not the God of Christianity. Galatians 1:8 from the Christian Bible says, let God's curse fall on anyone, including us, or even an angel from heaven who preaches a different kind of good news than the one we preach to you. This is the verse that talks about not being Trinity. So it says, O people of the scriptures, talking about us Christians and Jews, do not commit excess in your religion. So they're saying, oh, don't add stuff to the Bible or to the book, or say that about Allah except the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, was but a messenger of Allah. So they're just saying, oh, he was just a messenger. And his word, which he directed to Mary, and a soul created at the command from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers, and do not say three. Desist. It is better for you. So it's saying don't say three. It says, indeed, Allah is but one God. Exalted is he above having a son. So they think it's mono. Like we believe in monotheism too, but they think it's one God, not Trinity. And we believe it's one God, but with Trinity. So it's like a house. I don't know. There's a lot of analogies and stuff, but it's like a house. It has 4 walls, 1 roof, 1 ceiling, 1 floor, but it's all one house. You know what I mean? And it's different persons in one God. It's still one God. And there's a lot of the Old Testament refers to God as being in a Trinity. But it's one God. It's not 3 different gods we worship. We worship one God. So supposedly Muhammad was in a cave when he encountered the angel Gabriel and gave him a revelation. He was even a bit violent. And Muhammad felt depressed and even suicidal because his first thought was that he was possessed. Now, if we go to the actual Quran thing on the website, the official, it doesn't say all this. So right here, Surah 960, Surah is like a chapter, I guess, the clot. So it says the angel says, read in the name of the Lord, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to say it because it's not really what God said. So why should I even speak it? But so the angel Gabriel is talking right now, supposedly, saying, read, telling Muhammad to read, blah, blah, blah. So it just says it in the Quran. But his friends, family, like people who knew him, personal people, they write their own thing explaining like the personal view of it, so these are trustworthy eyewitnesses, people who live with him, and they say they add a little bit more context to what happened. Okay, so this is where Aisha, Muhammad's wife, who we should trust because she was literally the wife of Muhammad, said, the commencement of the divine inspiration, and this is the English translation, of Allah's apostle, talking about Muhammad, in the form of good, righteous, true dreams in his sleep. He used to go in the seclusion, the cave of Hira, where he used to worship Allah alone continuously for many days, nights, and then it talks about all the stuff, the journey with the food, and then if you see, it says, suddenly the truth descended upon him while he was in the cave of Hira. The angel came to him in it and asked him to read. So it's just like what the Quran is saying. The Prophet replied, I don't know how to read. Muhammad says, I don't know how to read. The angel caught me forcefully and pressed me so hard I cannot bear it anymore. Then he released me again and asked me to read. And I replied, I do not know how to read. Whereupon he caught me up again and pressed me a second time. I could not bear it anymore. Then he released me and asked me again to read. But I replied, I don't know what to read, or what shall I read? Thereupon he caught me for the third time and pressed me and released me and said, read in the name of your Lord, who all created, all exists. He created man from a cloud, blah, 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 blah. So she's telling us that before the actual verses that we see in the real Quran, that he was literally choked or pressed on or whatever before he actually started reading. It's kind of weird. And it says, then Allah's apostle, which is Muhammad, with the inspiration, his neck muscles twitching with terror till he entered upon Khadijah. Sorry if I said that wrong. And said, cover me, cover me. They covered him till his fear was over, and he said, oh Khadijah, what is wrong with me? Then he told her everything that had happened and said, I fear that something may happen to me. Khadijah said, never, but have glad tidings. So whoever this person is, I don't know if his wife or whatever, his other wives, because he had a lot, is saying, no, don't be afraid, stuff like that, For Allah will never disgrace you as you keep good relations with your kith and kin. Speak the truth, help the poor, blah, 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 blah. And then it says, but after a few days, Karak died. I think that was the cousin or something like that. And the divine inspiration was also paused for a while. And the Prophet became so sad, as we have heard that he intended several times to throw himself from the tops of the high mountains. And every time he went up to the top of the mountain in order to throw himself down, Gabriel would appear before him and say, oh Muhammad, you are indeed Allah's prophet in truth. So basically, this demon is lying to him to keep him alive. It says, the angel Gabriel would appear before him, said, oh, you are the apostle, and blah, blah, blah. Whereupon his heart would become quiet and he would stay calm and then would return home. And whether the period of the coming of the inspiration used to become long, he would do as before. But when he used to reach the top of the mountain, Gabriel would appear before him and say to him what he has said before. This is salvation for Muslims. In Islam, you earn your way to heaven through works. That's a big no-no. Christianity. Fasting, abstaining from eating. Prayer, going to Mecca, like traveling there with the black cube. For some reason, they kiss the cube and this stuff, which is idolatry, because it's a cube and they're worshiping it and stuff, walking around it, superstition stuff, when I thought they were supposed to be worshiping Allah, but I don't know. It's just a huge idol. Giving alms and jihad. They can't be certain of their salvation unless you become a martyr. Then you go directly to paradise, which is not the same as heaven, because their view of paradise is you get a bunch of virgins and have sex in heaven. It's not the same as Christianity. And also, by martyr, they mean dying for the faith, which is why you see a lot of extremists, but really they're just following the Quran and being normal, being terrorists and doing stuff because they believe it's, God's will or whatever, Allah. But yeah, that's what jihad is, and fighting people who don't believe in Christianity, which is violent. Islam is a violent religion, not good. And then this is the verse. This is the violent verse. This is in the Quran still. It says, fight against those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day. Fight. It says fight. And who do not consider unlawful what Allah and his messenger have made unlawful. So they don't, consider the laws of Muhammad or Allah. and do not adopt the religion of the truth from those who are given the scripture. Fight until they give the jizya unwillingly until they are humbled. So fight until the jizya is like paying. So people had to pay to not, to live in the land or to survive. It was something like that. I could put on screen what jizya was. So fight until they basically have to pay you. So it's really wrong, very wrong. I don't know, like Muslims try to interpret that verse in so many different ways, but I think that's pretty plain what it's saying. Muhammad also taught a false revelation about worshiping 3 goddesses and confessed his mistake and says Satan tempted him and gave him that revelation. Now, I want to tell you, in the Quran, I looked up the verse. The actual Quran doesn't say all this. It only says, have you thought of Al-Lat and Al-Uzza and Manat the third, the others? So that's what the actual Quran modern says, the modern Quran. But this is also from one of the people that were close to him, and it brings more context to what he said and, what was going on. So it says, now the apostle was anxious for the welfare of his people, the Quraysh, so his people, wishing to attract them as far as he could. So he wanted them to come to his religion or whatever, and he really wanted them to convert. It had been mentioned that he longed for a way to attract them, and the method he adopted is what Ibn Hamid told me that Salama said MB Ishad told him from Yazid b Zidad of Medina, from MB Ka al-Khurazi. Probably saying it wrong, but see, he's giving out names of people who said it to other people who said it to him or whatever. So this is trustworthy because this is someone who's close and lived with him or got information from people who were with him. When the apostle saw that his people turned their backs on him, he was pained by their estrangement from what he brought them from God. He longed that there should come to him from God a message that would reconcile his people to him. So he wanted a message from God to make them want to come. Because of his love for his people and his anxiety over them, it would delight him if the obstacle that made his task so difficult could be removed, so that he meditated on the project and longed for it, and it was dear to him. Then God sent down by the star when it sets your comrade errs not and is not deceived. He speaks not from his own desire. And when he reached his words, have you thought of so basically what happened, I'm just going to say, is he meditated, prayed, whatever, and then he got what he wanted, a revelation from God. So that's weird, In Christianity, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be like, oh, I want to do this. God supposedly tells you to do the thing you want to do, If what we're doing is sin, God is not going to want us to, is not going to reveal anything bad to us. It's our own desires. If, let's say, I want to eat a cookie, but I know it's unhealthy, I'm going to be like, oh, what does God say? And be like, oh, God wants me to eat a cookie. Because it's your desire, but it's not coming from God. It's coming from your bad desires. His desire to want the people to be in his religion. And then that's when he said the verse that's in the Quran. Have you thought of Al-Lut, Al-Zura, and Manat the third? Those are 3 goddesses, like bird goddesses or whatever. Satan, when he was meditating upon it and desiring to bring it to his people, put upon his tongue. So Satan, or a demon or whatever, it's probably a demon, put upon his tongue, these are the exalted Garik, a high-flying crane whose intercession is approved. So these are the cranes, the bird goddesses whose intercession is approved. So he's saying like to intercess to God, supposedly, or Allah. Like, I guess you talk to these demons, which they're actually just demons, and they speak to Allah, which is just a demon, or just make believe. It's either or. And it says, when the Quraysh, his people, heard that, they were delighted and greatly pleased at the way which he spoke of their gods and listened to him. So, of course, if you're If you're saying good things about their gods, their false gods, they're gonna be like, yay, okay. So that's how he did it. That's how he got his people to be on his side. And then it says the news reached the prophet's companions who were in Abyssinia. Probably said that wrong. So the news actually reached people that he knew. And it says, it being reported that the Quraysh, his people, had accepted Islam. So some men started to return while others remained behind. Then it says, while the angel Gabriel came to the apostle and said, what have you done, Muhammad? Have you read to these people something I did not bring you from God, and you have said what he did not say to you? The apostle was bitterly grieved and was greatly in fear of God. So God sent down a revelation, for he was merciful to him, comforting him and making light of the affair, and telling him that every prophet and apostle before him desired as he desired and wanted what he wanted, and Satan interjected something into his desires as he had on his tongue. So it's weird. It's like, you know, the angel Gabriel was saying, oh, what you said was wrong. So it's kind of like admitting that what he just said was wrong. And then Allah said, oh, every prophet before you desired the same things you did and did the same things you did. That's not true. It says, so God annulled what Satan had suggested, and God established his verses. It says, thus God revealed his prophet's grief and made him feel safe from his fears, and annulled what Satan had suggested in the words used above about their gods by his revelation. So basically, to make Muhammad feel better, you know, and he took away what Satan wrote, and then said, with his revelation, God's revelation, are yours the males and his the females, that were indeed an unfair division? They are nothing by names which your fathers given them. As far as the words, to whom he pleases and accepts, how can the intercessions of their gods avail with him? So that's in the real Quran. That is in the Quran. So the explanation is that, oh, God sent another revelation fixing it, what Muhammad's mistake was. And that's what's in there. So it's giving us context to what's in the Quran. So yeah, it was a lot that I just read to you, but let's move on. Islam was founded in the early 7th century. Muslims believe Muhammad was the last prophet and that the Quran is the last revelation to humanity because they believe the Bible was corrupted. Now, they believe Allah made the Bible. It begs a question, if Allah's other books were corrupted, what's going to stop this one from being corrupted? And why do Muslims say, oh, the Quran's been preserved quite well, but the other books of Allah are been corrupted? Like, what? It doesn't make sense. They believe the Bible is Allah's word that's been corrupted. It hasn't been corrupted though, but we see the Quran actually admitting that it's been corrupted, and it's just contradicting. And also, the Quran was actually compiled after Muhammad died. So look, these are verses reported from Ismail ibn Arab. So these are people who said, let none of you say, I have acquired the whole Quran. How does he know what all of it is when much of the Quran has disappeared? Rather, let him say, I have acquired what has survived. And it tells you the book. This is like the guy's thing. So he's saying some of it has disappeared. It says these are further evidences that whole surahs, which are chapters in the Quran, said to be missing from the Quran as it is today. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, one of the early authorities on the Quranic text and companion of Muhammad, is reported to have said to the reciters, so the reciters reciting the Quran, we used to recite a surah, a chapter, which resembled in length and severity to the chapter Barat. So there is a chapter called Barat. I have, however, forgotten it, with the exception of this, which I remember out of it. So he only remembers this part of it. If there were 2 valleys full of riches for the son of Adam, he would long for a 3rd valley, and nothing would fill the stomach of the son of Adam. So he's saying that he forgot some of the things he was reciting. And there's also some unscientific verses that obviously prove the Quran's false. One of them, which is one I'm going to show you, says till when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it setting in a muddy spring and found a people thereabout. We said, and they said something, either punish or show them kindness. So he's saying that he reached the end of the earth or something, and he saw at least the sun setting into a muddy spring, even though the sun is all the way in space and going around in space, not setting. So this is obviously unscientific. There's scientific verses in the Bible that don't contradict science and talk about the planet and Earth and, you know, its orbit and all this other stuff. That's true, but this is obviously not true. This, you could tell, is just a person in the ancient world that thought the sun, as he saw it, just went down, you know. But, you know, this is not true. Also, it says, and verily we have beautified the world's heaven with stars and lamps, and we have made them missiles for the devils, and for them we have prepared the doom of flame. So it's saying that stars are, you know, missiles to shoot demons. So, you know, I don't know. It's well known and documented that Muhammad died from poisoning, and from eating a poisoned lamb from a Jewish woman, which actually was not smart because he killed the Jews at that area, killed her family, and then when she came to offer food, which she poisoned, he just ate it. He was like, oh, God's gonna protect me, and he dies from poisoning. But he also says, while he's dying, says, and this is the wife saying this, the prophet in his ailment in which he died used to say, "Oh Aisha, I still feel the pain caused by the food I ate at Khaybar, and at this time I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison." But may think, oh, that's nothing. He said himself, had the messenger made up something in our name, talking about, like, this is Allah talking, supposedly, we would have certainly seized him by his right hand, then severed his aorta. So, saying if he did something false, was a false prophet, said something false, he would die from his aorta. Even though we know he died from poisoning, isn't it kind of a coincidence and kind of ironic that he felt like his aorta was being cut off while he was dying? I'm just gonna say it's pretty sus. It's literally sus. And yeah, you could look at these sources. I got stuff from the Quran.com or something, and also from answeringislam.org, talking about giving all the verses and stuff. Also, polygamy was taught, if I didn't say that already. There's verses I'm going to show on screen. So, I made this video, and it's going to be more of a long video. The reason I did this, because I want to go through every religion and prove why it's false. Then I'm going to get to Christianity and prove why it's true. And then I'm going to go through probably some of the arguments of people saying why it's false and actually refute it. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're Muslim, I respect you, but I will say Islam is false, and I really pray that people from other religions will stop being deceived and turn to the real God and the real Jesus to save them from their sins. So please, if you're watching this and you're from another religion, please repent, turn away from the idolatry, the sins, the fake gods, and turn to the one true God, which is Jesus, who died on the cross for you. And if you just follow him and believe in him, you'll receive the free gift of everlasting life, salvation, and I don't want to see people going to hell and on Judgment Day thinking, what? This is not the same as what I've been believing this whole time. I don't want people to go to hell and be deceived. So that's why I'm doing this. And please never again say that all religions are similar. All religions are the same. Islam's the same as Christianity. It is not. Okay? Okay? So, see you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed this. And research. I'm going to put stuff in the description. I really mean it. Research it. Don't just take my word for it. Please don't. And I mean this. Like, literally research it. Look it up on Google. I'm telling you, please research it so you know. So you actually know, okay? So, see you guys later. Bye.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Come on.